Hi, my name is Lynn Garling. I work for the Pennsylvania Integrated Pest Management Program. We try to help people solve their pest problems safely and effectively. So today we have with us Rhonda Griffin. She's the president and CEO of Pest Free Maintenance in Philadelphia, and she's going to help us understand from a professional's point of view a little bit more about how to control pests safely and effectively. Welcome, Rhonda.
Hi, Lynn. I'm glad to be here. So glad to be a part of helping people understand how to safely solve pests in their homes.
Thanks, Rhonda. Can you tell us a little bit about your company? How long have you been in business? What kind of practices you employ?
Well, we've been in business for about 24 years now, and we practice integrated pest management. And many people, often we call it IPM. Many people are not really familiar with that term. It simply is a safer, more effective way of controlling pests, and it consists of a combination of things, not just simply one thing.
So, like, what do you do first? If you're using IPM, what do you do first?
Well, one of the first things that we do with IPM and trying to control the pest is you want to inspect the property. You want to make a positive identification of whatever the pest may be. Because once you identify the pest, there are different ways to treat different pests.
Right. So, are there ways you can prevent them in the first place? I mean, is that an approach?
Absolutely. That's also part of IPM, prevention, and you can do that by eliminating their food and water sources and just getting rid of a bunch of clutter. Sealing up openings in your home. So there are a number of ways that you can keep them out by just starving them to death and locking them out and putting down monitoring devices so that if one gets in, you'll be able to be aware of it sooner.
Okay. So like the monitoring devices are sort of an early warning system. You can tell when they start to come in.
Yes, you can.
Okay, well, but what about bug sprays and chemicals and pesticides? I mean, is that part of IPM? Do you ever use that kind of?
Absolutely, yes. It's all a part of it. We use pesticides, we use insect growth regulators, we use different types of baits. We try to use the pesticides when it's absolutely necessary. So we actually have baits and gels that are also pesticides, but they're in a different formulation that doesn't put the resident at risk of inhaling those pesticides.
Okay.
So we use them judiciously.
Right. So can you give me an example, like say for cockroaches or something like that?
Yeah. For cockroaches, I mean, what I have right here, all these are pesticides. They're just in different formulations. Quite often, people are very comfortable with the spray. It's something that their mother's done, their grandmother's done. It's just been passed along through the generations, and it's very familiar for most people. But it puts us more at risk. Here we actually have a gel. We have a roach gel. This is a pesticide. It's actually much more effective than the spray because the spray is going to kill what it comes in contact with. With the gel and the habits of roaches, the roaches will eat this and they will go back into their hiding places, and as any organism that eats something, it has to release it. It poops. Other roaches eat the poop of roaches who ingested this. Roaches who eat this, they die. And so when they go back into their hiding places, other roaches eat their poop and they die, and other roaches eat the dead roaches who have ingested this and they die. So it's like a domino effect with this. It's much more effective because it's getting in places that we can't get to. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes we've seen situations where roaches were nesting inside of curtain rods. I mean, they're all they get into the walls. Mm-hmm. And so you can't go into a wall with a liquid pesticide. You can't spread electrical outlets. So these bait stations are very nice. You can put them in your cabinets. You can put them on the baseboard behind your refrigerator. We see oftentimes German cockroaches will really nest inside of the base of the motor of a refrigerator. And so you don't want to spray, but they're looking for something to eat.
I see.
So these baits, when there are no competing food sources, they tear it up.
I see. So I heard two things in what you said. One thing is that you can't have competing food sources. So that's part of your elimination by cleaning up the food and that side of thing. Also, it seems to me, Rhonda, that these would be safer to have around children compared to something like a spray.
Absolutely. It's safer around children and elderly and even healthy individuals because a pesticide is dangerous. They leave residuals. They're in the air. The particles fall on your furniture. Not a good thing.
So Rhonda, IPM sounds great, but can you tell me how it works for bed bugs?
Well, first of all, we have to, again, start with a positive identification. When someone thinks that they have bed bugs, something is biting them, it could be a number of different things that's biting them, depending on the time of the year. We actually had a situation where a woman actually had bed bugs, but it was the summertime and she thought it was mosquitoes.
I see.
And then she has a cat, and then after the fall came in, she thought she had fleas. And so finally we came out, she called us and we came out and we identified that she definitely had bed bugs.
Okay.
And by this time the infestation had actually grown because it had several months to just exist with no intervention or anything. So one of the first things we have to do with bed bugs is positively identify the bug.
Right.
Once we do that, then we're going to want to thoroughly inspect the home where they're having the problem so that you can try to find out where they're nesting. Oftentimes when you have an infestation that has gone untreated for so long, you may have various nests throughout the home in several bedrooms and areas that people spend a lot of time in their living rooms. So after we thoroughly inspect and we find out what's going on, we talk to the resident about the role that they're going to play in helping a professional pest control company gain control of the problem. And one of the first things we like to let people know that they don't have to throw their beds out.
Oh, they don't.
No,
A lot of people do that. The first thing they want to do is throw out their beds.
Right. They don't have to throw their beds out. I mean, not unless the bed is no good. But if the bed is in good condition, we really encourage them not to throw the beds out. We actually have some things that we call encasements that we encourage them to use. And these encasements are really nice because it actually puts the entire mattress and box spring inside of a cover so that whatever is on inside of that mattress stays there and it can't come out. And these bed bugs, they need blood in order to survive. So once we encourage them to use the encasements on their bed, that's a way of us containing what's going on there. We talk to them about decluttering and organizing the house as much as possible. We talk to them about, taking the clothes out of your dresser drawers, bagging them up, putting them in dryers, because the heat actually kills the bed bugs. So these are some things that the resident can do to help us prepare before we go in and we actually treat the home. We also make them aware of the fact that it's important for them to move their bed away from the wall, try to make their bed like an island. Make sure that none of their bedding touches the floor because bed bugs crawl, they don't fly. If your bedding touches the floor, it just creates a bridge for that bed bug to come on up. And
so what you're saying is they should move the bed away from the wall, keep the bedding from touching the floor. And what about bed bugs climbing up the legs of the bed?
Well, that's where we can use a number of different things. There are some things called interceptors, and you can put these under each leg of the bed, which is really pretty good because anything crawling from outside of the room is going to get caught into the well.
Well, how does that work exactly?
Well, first of all, when we go to bed at night, the bed bugs are attracted to the carbon dioxide that we emit as we breathe. And so when we go to bed, they go to work.
Okay, like little vampires.
Yes, like
they're the vampires. They come out when it's dark.
Exactly. And so if the bed is like an island, and if no bedding is touching the floor, they're going to find their way over to you. So they could be in the night table drawer. They could be inside of the alarm clock. Hiding. So they crawl down and they are going to be crawling up to you. So they crawl up in here, they crawl up, and then they fall down.
I see.
And so anything that you see on the outer well pretty much lets you know where they're coming from. Anything you find in the inner well basically is coming from the actual bed.
Well, that could also be a good monitoring device.
So
that way you would know, are bed bugs actually in my home? They would be coming looking for you on.
They would.
You would be able to find out if they were there.
Yeah, that's true too. We find this this is helpful on a number of different occasions. Sometimes when you have a very light infestation, it can be extremely difficult getting it under control because you've got to find it. That's what makes bed bugs so hard to control. They're elusive and, they're small. So when you have monitoring devices like this, it can be very good if not much is going on. Then the other thing that's good about this device is it lets you know where to look.
I see.
Depending upon where you find them in this particular monitoring device. So we know if they're in the inner well, then maybe perhaps we want to check the encasement to make sure that there are no rips or tears in it. We want to take that bed completely apart to thoroughly inspect it, making sure that there are no live bed bugs there.
Well, Rhonda, this sounds like this is a pretty detailed protocol that you all are using. I was wondering, isn't there anything I can do myself? Like, okay, so I didn't throw away my bed and I put on encasements, but can't I just go down to the corner store and get some bug bombs? Can't I just take care of it myself instead of hiring you?
Well, not unless you are a professional pest management person. I would not advise that. We do not advise the use of foggers at all. I have some bed bugs here, and the reason that we don't advise the use of foggers is because bed bugs are small. They hide in cracks and crevices, and with the total release fogger, with the bug bombs, they just emit a bunch of chemicals out into the air. So it's not even coming in contact with the actual bed bug. So if it doesn't come in contact with the bed bug, it doesn't kill. But not only that, these foggers don't kill bed bugs. And the foggers are flammable, so they're very dangerous. We do not recommend using foggers, total release aerosols, or bug bombs to kill bed bugs. You really want to use a professional pest control company. Have someone come out and take care of that.
So they leave also chemical residues, I would assume. Then they settle on surfaces and that kind of thing.
Yes, they do, and that puts you and those in your home at risk. There's no magic bullet to solving the problem with bed bugs. What we need you to do is quite a bit. I mean, most people have a lot of stuff. So organizing your house is for us to come in to treat. It's not going to be an easy feat. You've got 3 bedrooms, if you've got bureau dressers, you've got clothes in your closet, you've got a lot of things that you're going to need to thoroughly inspect, bag up, and have either put them in a dryer. Some people, we find that if that's too much for them to do, we actually build heat chambers, and we will put their clothing into a heat chamber for several hours and let the temperature go up 120 degrees, and it'll kill pretty much anything that's alive living in there.
So you're saying that heat actually kills bed bugs?
Heat definitely kills.
More effective than foggers or any of that?
Well, the heat kills the bed bugs without you having to use a chemical. And so that's very effective. When it's inside of your clothes, you don't want to get into spraying chemicals on your clothes. And because bed bugs are in our sleeping quarters, oftentimes our bureau dressers and things of that nature are close by. So they may hide in those particular areas, and they're small, and a lot of times they can be missed.
I see. Well, what about the fact that bed bugs, how do we get bed bugs anyhow? Do we need to, is there something we need to do to prevent getting bed bugs again once you've gotten rid of them? Or?
Well, one of the things I think you really want to be informed about what they look like, and you want to just keep your eyes open. Anybody can get bed bugs. I mean, in some of the 5-star hotels, I mean, today we have so much more international travel than ever before. And so it's easy. You can get bed bugs at the doctor's office, on the train, on the plane, almost anywhere. So you really have to be aware what they look like. When you go to a hotel, I have a tendency to inspect my beds. I don't place my luggage down on things of that nature. I may sit my things up on something high. Sometimes I may sit them in the bathroom, in the tub, until I thoroughly inspect the place and know what's actually going on.
Right. Well, what if I live in an apartment with a lot of people, though? I don't control what goes on there. I have a landlord. How do I play a role in dealing with bed bugs at that level?
Well, that's kind of, it can be a little complicated because, you know, a lot of times people do not want to own up to it. They feel that they've done something wrong, or people may frown upon them about their sanitation habits. It has nothing to do with that. Bed bugs, they feed off our blood, and that's all they want. When you're living in an apartment situation, you don't have control over everyone. So if you suspect that you have bed bugs, it's really important that you talk to your landlord and your neighbors as well, because the sooner that the problem is addressed, the easier it is to solve.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, Rhonda, I think I've learned an awful lot about bed bugs from you today. To summarize, I think you're saying don't try to treat it yourself.
Pretty much.
Get early recognition of the problem so you can keep it under control. And make sure you talk to your landlord and other people in the building so you can work on it as a team.
Right. And of course, you definitely want to hire a professional company who is licensed and insured, and someone who's experienced in dealing with bed bugs, because in this particular situation, pesticides are needed, and you want to have them used in the proper way, in the proper amounts, in the proper places. And that you would want a professional to do.
Right. Do you have any advice for us in making sure that we know that our professional is practicing IPM? Is there something we should be requiring of them, or?
Well, first of all, you want to make sure that they're licensed, by the Department of Agriculture. And you can ask, when you call around, companies will let you know. And if you have a technician, if someone comes to your home, you can always ask them, can you see their license? You can ask the company, do they use IPM? And what are their techniques?
Right. So in other words, if you're not comfortable with what they're saying, you should shop around.
You definitely should shop
right.
around.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Rhonda. That was excellent information, and good luck out there with the bed bugs.
Thanks for having us, Lyn.